Hello, everybody. Coronavirus patients and survivors talk about what it's like. Okay, there's a lot of information about the novel coronavirus coming to us in every possible direction. Sometimes it's good to hear from people who have seen it and experienced it up close. Currently, there are just over 1,600 confirmed cases in the United States. Here are the stories of a few of the people that have been infected with the coronavirus 19. All right. Bentley recently appeared on CNN along his wife, Susie, speaking with the network anchor, Poppy Harlow. The couple said it is their faith in Jesus that has carried them through the uncertainties of COVID-19. In fact, earlier this week, Bentley said his doctors came into his isolation room to tell him the condition of his lungs was worsening. Bentley, though, said, "I heard the voice of God inside of me telling me you're getting better." The medical staff also reassured Bentley that cases often get worse before they get better. Okay. He is expected to be released, these ads, in a few days. The road wasn't immediately so hopeful for Bentley, though, when he first began experiencing flu-like symptoms. He went to the hospital. He was tested for seasonal flu, and the results came back negative, so they sent him home. See, that's what gets me. The doctors and nurses, they're new to this, and it's like, hopefully they're getting a handle on it now. Over the next 3 to 4 days, the Georgia native's symptoms only worsened. He then returned to the hospital where he was diagnosed with COVID-19. Even in the midst of so many unknowns, the Bentleys have continued to trust in God's sovereignty. Bentley also had the opportunity to speak with Vice President Mike Pence, who vowed to pray for him. Bentley encouraged Americans concerned about the virus not to panic. It's what we begin to hear. I think that's why this country, we walk in fear, because we hear these fear stories and it causes pandemonium, he said. But if you're hearing the right voices and you follow these voices, because God began to tell me I was getting better. And today, look at me, I feel better. Bentley's wife, who is in quarantine in their home, has not exhibited any symptoms of the novel coronavirus, reminded Harlow and CNN viewers that dwelling on worry and fear doesn't do any good. You've got to find something to put your hope in. Anytime any fear comes, or loneliness, or anything that is negative with all that's going on, the changes are going on, I stand on his word. I stand on his promises that no weapons formed against us can prosper. I gave him praise in the meantime. I know that he's got my husband and he will come through this. Don't rely on what everyone else is saying. Find out what God is saying and stand on his word. Now, Elizabeth Schneider of Seattle, she's 37, first contracted COVID-19 a few days after attending a house party where she was exposed to other people who had the virus. Nice. Initially, she was feeling tired. Her body was aching and she had a fever. That's what I felt like last Sunday. Schneider didn't think she had the novel coronavirus because her symptoms didn't match the most common indicators: shortness of breath, respiratory distress, or a cough. Yeah, I didn't have that either. A test, though, did eventually indicate she was positive for COVID-19. Schneider said her mother cried when she first learned of her daughter's diagnosis. As for Schneider, however, with a doctorate in bioengineering, she was fascinated. She had nearly completely recovered after experiencing mild symptoms, which is a likelihood for about 80% of cases. Her primary message during a recent interview on CNN was encouraging Americans not to panic about COVID-19, particularly those who are like her, otherwise healthy individuals. What C.S. Lewis Martin Luther would say about our coronavirus panic? I like this. I've heard this. The big takeaway I want to tell everyone is please don't panic, Schneider said. Oh, what C.S. Lewis Martin said, I thought they were going to say it, but they didn't. But we can get back to that sometime, or you can look it up yourself. An unknown infectious agent that is relatively new to have infected humans. However, if you are healthy, if you are younger, if you take good care of yourself when you're sick, you will recover, I believe. I'm living proof of that. Now, an unnamed Seattle woman, though she hasn't disclosed her name, one woman from Seattle shares details of her encounter with COVID-19 in a column for Marie Claire magazine. She found out she had been diagnosed with the novel virus after a February 25th luncheon with 7 people at a local restaurant where she believes she picked up the infection. Stay home, everybody. Just a couple days later, she woke up with a sore throat and a headache. I worked from home, and by noon, I felt so under the weather that I had to stop working. By 2, I had chills and body aches and a mild fever. Oh my gosh, that's how I felt. I had chills. I had some achiness. I was really tired. A little bit of a scratchy throat. This is me talking now. And headache. That was gone within a half hour after I took Advil. By 3 p.m., I was in bed and stayed there well until the next day. I thought it was a flu initially. Her symptoms persisted, so the woman went to a nearby clinic where a nurse prescribed Tamiflu, an antiviral for those diagnosed with a seasonal flu. Due to restrictions at the time, she couldn't get tested for COVID-19. So the nurse encouraged her to enroll online in the Seattle flu study, which she did. Those who qualified for the research study received a swab kit in the mail, which they then returned after using. On March 6th, she received a phone call from the public health department official urging her to call back, and she had tested positive for COVID-19. Truthfully, for me, the illness wasn't that bad. A couple of years ago, I got the flu and found that to be worse. Being sick with COVID-19 felt different because I experienced shortness of breath, which is what tipped me off to the fact that I might have it. It was like I could still breathe, but I couldn't get a full breath, which felt a little scary. I'm typically a healthy person who always recovers easily from illness. It's been almost 2 weeks now, and I'm just getting over it, which is similar to the experience I've had with any cold or flu. She lives with her husband and 2 children, ages 7 and 10, and none of them have tested positive for the virus. The Seattle woman is now feeling much better and encouraging people to take the advice of medical experts. Wash your hands, avoid close contact with other people, and please self-quarantine if you're feeling sick and avoid any unnecessary travel. Earlier this week, I wrote a column encouraging Christians concerned about the novel coronavirus not to panic because we know God is not shaken by this infection. Scripture tells us that as believers, we have been given a spirit of power, love, and self-discipline. And we are encouraged to pray about everything, telling God what we need, what we're scared of, and why we're worried. And there's the scriptures for it right there. 2 Timothy 1:7, Philippians 4:6. Please continue to be in prayer for our nation, our medical experts, our politicians, and for those who are part of at-risk communities, such as the elderly and those who are immunocompromised. I think that was it, guys. So, yeah, that's just from a few people. Honestly, just be aware. Have a great day.